readers, my name is Bea and today I'm doing 5 book recommendations for beginner fantasy readers. The world of fantasy is very broad and very vast and there are lots of books you can start with, but I'm going to be recommending some of my favourites. I just want to say that these are not all going to be well known or not amazingly loved by everybody, but they are loved by me. I loved every single book of the series that I'm going to be talking about. Of course, before I start, I will recommend reading Harry Potter, City of Bones, Twilight. 3 staples you should have on your bookshelves if you're going to read fantasy. They are like the main introductions to fantasy. But if you want something a bit different, if you don't want anything that's like so up there, then these are the recommendations for you. So I have 5 series that I'm going to be recommending today. A few of them have quite a few books in them. A couple have like 2 or 3. So I'm going to start with one that's not well known. I think it's amazing and everyone should read it. And that series is the World Walker series by Josephine Angelini. It is a trilogy and there is a novella that goes along with this series as well. As far as I know, they are only going to be a trilogy. I don't think there's going to be another series, another book after this, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think the author has brought anything out about having another book in this series. We have Trial by Fire, Firewalker, and Witch's Pyre. So this series is all about witches and it's amazing and I love it. There is one thing that I just want to show you before I talk about the synopsis of one of the books, is the covers. They are amazing. I love them. You'll see what I mean in a moment. You might have already guessed just by looking, but if you put the covers up side by side, they join together, which I love. So yeah, I really love the covers. That's probably one of my favourite parts about this trilogy. A little bit about the first book. We follow Lily Proctor throughout the whole series, but in this one we follow her as she's kind of pushed into a parallel universe of her hometown, which is called Salem. And in this parallel universe there are horrible monsters and it is kind of run by these women called Crucibles. The most powerful of which is her evil twin, I like to call her, is Lillian. So during this she's kind of pushed into having these responsibilities that she doesn't want to have, and she kind of finds this love that she never thought that she never thought she'd ever get. So that's kind of a twist that you don't see happening within this book. In this book she realises that what kind of held her back in her other world is what kind of made her extraordinary in this world. And when things turn to war, she kind of realises that she can't be her people's saviour, because she's fighting against herself, literally. She's fighting against her evil twin Lillian within this book. And during that she kind of realises she has powers and she has to use them against Lillian, but Lillian like knows everything about her because she is her, and I really love this book. I just want to mention that on the backs of all these books they don't have a synopsis. They have a little bit about her, what happens in the book, but it's not like a synopsis. So on this one it says 2 versions of the same world, 2 versions of the same girl, a love that pulls them together, a war that tears them apart. On Firewalker it says 2 versions of the same world, 2 versions of the same girl, love took them home, now evil wants them back. And then on Witch's Pyre it says 2 versions of the same world, 2 versions of the same girl, love broke her apart, what price will she pay for victory? I am yet to read this book, so I'm really excited to find out what that means. There is no kind of synopsis on the entirety of this book, so I'd either have to go online or just read it to find out what happens. That is my first fantasy recommendation, World Walker by Josephine Angelini. She also wrote Star-Crossed, so if you've ever read Star-Crossed before, then I definitely check this series out. Okay, so the next series that I'm going to be suggesting to you today is the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a 5-book series. The series is complete, so if you did go out and pick this series up today, then you would be able to get all of the books in the series. no waiting years for a sequel, which I really love in recommendations. I love getting full series recommendations. The Lux series is all about aliens, and we follow a girl called Katie and her next door neighbours Dee and Damon and the journey into their alien world. This book is a mix between high fantasy and sci-fi fantasy, so if you're not really into sci-fi and aliens, this book probably isn't for you. So this book actually does have a blurb on the back, so I'm going to read that to you now. There's an alien next door, and with his looming height and eerie green eyes, he's hot until he opens his mouth. He's infuriating, arrogant, stab-worthy. But when a stranger attacks me and Damon literally freezes time with a wave of his hand, he marks me. Turns out he has a galaxy of enemies wanting to steal his abilities, and the only way I'm getting out of this alive is by sticking close to him until my alien mojo fades. If I don't kill him first, that is. When Katie moves to West Virginia right before her senior year, she's anticipating a whole lot of boring. The last thing on her mind is getting involved with her sexy, exasperating neighbour and then finding out he's guarding a mind-blowing secret. So that is just the first book in this series. I really love this series. It's one of my favourites. I had it on Kindle before I got it on physical copy. So I've been there throughout the entirety of this series coming out. I've been there for waiting years and years for each book, each sequel. So you can take it from me that this is one of my favourite series. Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing is beautiful. I love the style of her writing, and the way she brings her characters to life in this book is amazing. Definitely one of my favourite series of all time. If you saw my last video, which was a book haul, you would have seen that I've only just got these in physical copy, so I am very excited to have these in my possession. The only thing I will say about this series is it doesn't have book covers that are all the same all the way through the series. The first 3 books have the same covers for all 3 books, so they have the same models and the same kind of style and the same writing, so I really love that there is that kind of cohesion, that kind of similarity. But then if you move on to book 4, it kind of changes up, it's completely different. I do believe it is the same model for Damon, but I'm not quite sure, don't quote me on that. And then for book 5 it just changes completely. So book 5 is called Opposition. What I will say is that you can get this cover for both of these books, and you can get a cover that encompasses the first 3 books in a book that is similar to this. So if you don't mind having like omnibuses that have 3 books in them at the same time, then you can get covers that are the same. But if you like having books that are all one book and it's just one book in the physical book, then I would suggest having and dealing with the different covers. But that is all I would say about the covers of this book. Other than that, I absolutely love the series, and I definitely recommend you going and getting it and picking it up. So the next series I'm going to suggest to you today is the Series of Unfortunate Events series. This is a 13-book series. If you're not in it for the long haul, then I don't suggest picking up this series, but if you do like longer series, they are quite small books, so they're really easy to read quickly, but if you like longer series, then I definitely suggest picking up Series of Unfortunate Events. Everyone knows the story of the orphan Baudelaire triplets. They get orphaned when their parents are burnt alive in a fire. They get given to multiple foster homes and multiple distant relatives, and every time they are taken to a different home, they are always thwarted by Count Olaf, who comes and tries to take them away, and just because he wants their ginormous fortune that is given to them. In this book they are given to Count Olaf to be looked after by Mr. Poe, their kind of guardian. This is where we find out where Count Olaf is all about and why he wants the kind of fortune and what he does, and kind of his little bit of a backstory in this book. You kind of figure out a bit more throughout the rest of the books. This is where we meet Count Olaf and the triplets as well. Throughout the stories there is a lot more backstory of the triplets' parents and their kind of storyline, so there is a lot to find out in each different book. You meet a lot of different people within this series, so if you like seeing loads of different characters, then this is definitely a series for you. I have only read up to book 6, so I have obviously not read the entirety of the series, but I have watched both the film and the TV series that is a spin-off of this book series, so I definitely know a little bit about what's going on. This book is not really high fantasy or really fantasy. It is portrayed as gothic fantasy. So it is fiction, it's not contemporary, so it's definitely in that fantasy range, but it's more towards the bottom of fantasy. There's not like dragons and demons and angels and vampires and that kind of thing, but it's definitely in the fantasy category. So yeah, definitely recommend you get this series. Even if you pick them up one book at a time, they are definitely worth it. The next series that I'm going to suggest to you is The Rain by Virginia Bergin, don't know her last name. This series is more of a duology. I'm not sure if the author is bringing out more books after the second one. I think the second one only came out last year, so we are yet to find out if more books are going to be happening. I have not read the second book yet, so I have no idea what happens in that one, but I really loved the first book. It's something completely different to anything that I've read before. We follow a girl called Ruby on her journey in a world where the rain is deadly. It's kind of an apocalyptic kind of storyline. Again, this book has a blurb, so I can read it to you now. I'm Ruby Morris, and this is my story. I will try to be honest and tell everything as it was, but I will not swear, because my mum hated swearing. I hope you'll understand. I'll write something beautiful instead. I'll write, and then there's a drawing of a butterfly, because she doesn't swear during this book. For my mum. Everything is butterfly. The whole world is butterfly. Because there's something in the rain that kills you if you get just one drop on your skin. I've survived this long, I don't know how. I've got really good at watching the sky. And the worst thing, I'm stuck with someone I wouldn't kiss if he was the last boy on earth. Which he kind of is. Butterfly, butterfly, butterfly. Within the books you can kind of guess what the butterfly symbol means for each like different swear word that she kind of cuts out, just by the way that she writes the phrase or that kind of thing. So most of the butterflies on here mean the word which I really like that there's no actual swear words in it, but it does hint that the character knows how to swear and she says it on a daily basis and it's in her vocabulary, which is something I really like, because most people do swear, but this just takes it down to a notch where younger readers can read it without having to read those kind of words if they don't want to read those kind of words. So the second book is called The Storm, and as I said, I have not read this book, but on the front it says the end of the world was just the beginning, which I really like. It's kind of a metaphor for what this book really stands for. So I really love these covers. The rain part of this cover, you can actually, it's got drops on it and you can actually feel them if you rub your fingers across it, which is what I really love, because this one is all about the rain. It's not about storms or that kind of thing. It's all about the rain and raindrops, and just one drop can kill you. Because you know, in some like zombie films at the beginning people don't go out at all because they don't know how to deal with it, but then as time goes on they go out and they get more confident and being out and stuff. So that's kind of a metaphor for this. In the beginning they don't go out at all when it's raining, they don't stay out, but I guess in the second one, as it's called The Storm, they're more confident in what they're doing, especially as she's standing in the rain. Like, I really don't understand that. Why is she standing in the rain? I don't know, I'll have to find out. This might be the next books that I read, just so I can figure that out and tell you guys. This is a really great duology. I really enjoyed reading the first one. Super excited to read the second one. Definitely recommend you go and pick these up. So yeah, that's another recommendation for you guys. The next series that I'm going to be talking about is the Shadowfall series. I don't have these books in physical copy, but I have read all of them, so I will insert a picture of them as I'm talking, just so you get an idea of what they look like. So the Shadowfall series is 5 books. I don't have them in physical copy. I have them on my Kindle. So this series kind of follows a girl who realises she has supernatural powers when she starts to see ghosts and dead people and that kind of thing. And then her mum's really worried, so she takes her to this summer camp where she thinks she's going to be healed and she's not going to see ghosts anymore. But in actual fact, it's a camp for people with supernatural abilities. We have shapeshifters and vampires, I think, and fairies. that kind of thing. Loads of different characters in this book. I really love the storyline. So we follow the main character, Kylie, on her journey to kind of discover what she is, because everyone that is in the camp has a title for their supernatural power. So shapeshifter, vampire, fairy, that kind of thing. She doesn't know what she is. Her abilities are completely different to everyone else's. No one knows what her title should be, and it's kind of an exploration of herself to kind of figure out what she is. She deals with ghosts and love triangles and enemies and deadly things and being hunted and all of that kind of thing during this series. So it's definitely a really interesting book to read. I wouldn't necessarily call it high fantasy because it's not set in any kind of city or that kind of thing. I would definitely call it fantasy though. Obviously it has shapeshifters and werewolves and vampires, but it's definitely more of a YA fantasy. It's all surrounded by teenagers and coming of age and that kind of thing, so definitely recommend this for young teenagers, young adults as well. That is all of my recommendations for today. I really hope you liked this video. Just a couple things. I am updating my Instagram, so I'm gonna have some different days where I post now, so go and check out my Instagram if you don't follow me already over there. I'm probably going to have a bonus video in the next couple of weeks because something really cool is arriving and I'm really excited to show you, but I don't have it on my schedule of videos, so it's going to be a bonus video, middle of the week upload. I don't know when I'm going to upload it, but yeah, look out for that video. It's going to be really exciting. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, then hit that like button and subscribe while you're down there so you don't miss any more of my future videos like the one I just mentioned. I really hope you have a good day and I'll see you soon.